if there's nothing that's objective and there's nothing that we share, why should I care about anything you have to say?
I mean, you shouldn't necessarily, because what's the point of talking about this kind of stuff if there is nothing that is objective, if everything is 100% a construct of like what's in your mind?
So I interview people about something that they think is true, something that something that's meaningful to them. What I do is I ask questions from a neutral perspective, so that we can both kind of understand how you arrived at the conclusion and what supports your confidence that it's true.
I like that. I
So
think that's a really good concept.
Yeah. So it's less about the what the conclusion is and more about how you support it and whether the reasons that you're supporting it are sufficient enough to your own standards to support the confidence that you have in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me get this other camera going and we'll get started. You cool
Sounds
if we record?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Again, thanks for stopping.
Yeah, of course.
What's your name?
Nick.
Nick?
Yeah, what's yours?
My name's David.
David, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Nick.
Yeah, I'm just glad this is not like, you see sometimes on YouTube, they'll have like, I don't know, those political shows or whatever where, like the host tries to go in there and prove somebody wrong. I wasn't really interested in doing something like that, but this sounds a lot more calm and relaxed.
This is not that.
Can I ask what the the puzzle pieces and the little doll are for?
Yeah, the puzzle pieces, whenever we get done, you get to choose one.
Oh, cool.
The idea is, so there's 3 colors and they all kind of fit together like a puzzle. And the idea is, if you have another conversation, you get to earn another piece and you get to build out the whole set. So it kind of helps you remember the conversation.
Yeah.
And it also entices you to have another one later.
Yeah, it's a little way to get people coming back.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm on a U.S. tour, stopping in a bunch of different communities. So honestly, the chances of us meeting again is pretty low.
That's unfortunate.
But I have these puzzle pieces to give out, so you're free to take one whenever we get done. So,
Where are you going on this tour? Just like colleges or anywhere really?
colleges, I think, are my favorite because that's where I get to meet people with like fresh, open minds. People that are in the age group where they're questioning a lot of things that maybe they were taught, and they're maybe finding out that, I don't know, maybe the world isn't the way that I've been told so far.
Yeah,
And
it's sort of like as black and white as it may seem.
yeah, and more exposure to different perspectives from other people from all over the world, and different teachers. Everything's a little bit kind of different, and you're kind of free to explore stuff, and I think that can help create a more open mind.
It facilitates better discussions. I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah. How do you like it so far?
Well, this is my first semester here, actually. I transferred from the University of Michigan, but
okay.
college, just like as a whole, has been fantastic for me. Obviously, like I miss my family. My mom and dad, especially, they mean a lot to me.
You're
And,
still in
like,
Michigan?
No, I'm actually from Hawaii originally.
Oh, really?
I transferred from Michigan because of the weather. I was just like totally unprepared for Midwest winters. Nothing against the school
That's
or
quite a
anything,
change.
but yeah, it wasn't for me. But no, I like the independence, getting to choose, what I want to do with
Yeah,
my time. Like who I am is totally up to me. I think it's a really cool feeling, and
that's
not
awesome.
really one that you necessarily get, living at home.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you may not know the answer to this, and it's okay. But every time I meet somebody that either is from Michigan or lived in Michigan, I ask them, is it Ypsilanti or Ypsilanti?
It's Ypsilanti, and it's funny you mentioned that. I have an aunt who lives there.
Really? So it's
Yeah,
Ypsilanti?
Ypsilanti, and a lot of people call it Ipsy for short.
Right. Okay. It seems like it's like a 50-50 from
Really?
who I talk to, and everybody seems to be extremely confident that the other pronunciation is completely wrong.
I would say I'm confident too, but I mean, if it's 50-50, maybe I shouldn't be so confident.
Cool. Well, that was a good chat. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time.
All right, cool. So, so what I'll have you do? Did I explain everything?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely.
So what I'll have you do is I'll have you take that pen and paper, and I'll have you write down a conclusion that you think is true, accurate currently about our shared world. Um, Something that's meaningful to you. In other words, if you found out it was not true tomorrow, you would act differently in the world. Your behavior would change. Um, Something that you're fairly confident in, and so you'll just keep it hidden from me, and I'll ask questions that have to do with how you're supporting the conclusion, um, and that will help me keep my bias out of the questioning part.
Sounds good to me.
'Cause if I don't know what the conclusion is, it can't really guide me as to how the questions are going to go.
So is this like, are you trying to guess what my conclusion is,
No,
or
I'm not
it's
trying to guess. I'm just trying to keep my bias out of it,
sounds good?
so that we can focus on the epistemology,
What does that word mean?
which is a fancy word of saying how do we know
Like the
instead of
reasoning, as opposed to, oh, you came to this conclusion. Let me put my worldview into it.
right. Exactly.
Well, I have one that like I had been kind of kicking around while we were having that
Okay.
first little discussion.
Nick. Nick.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So I'll give you a second to write it down. Um, and then yeah, I'll ask questions. Another cool thing about this is if you have a belief that could be like a sensitive topic that you don't necessarily want other people to know where you stand, we can still explore the reasoning behind it, and you don't have to disclose, your stance on it. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
that sounds good. I don't think it should be too controversial, but I don't know. I've definitely had like conversations about this topic before that people do disagree.
Okay, perfect. All right. So my first question is, when somebody says something's true, how do you interpret that? What is your definition for true?
I think that based on the person, true can mean a lot of different things. Of course, you have, objectively true, like this is an empirical fact. This is, supported by real world phenomena, all that stuff. Then you also have, I guess, a subjective true that comes as a result of your experiences and like the circumstances that you've been exposed to. Maybe somebody says, "Oh, I really love mint chocolate chip ice cream." To them, that's true, but somebody else, they don't love mint chocolate chip ice cream. So I guess you could say there's almost two types of truth.
Is the second type true or preference or opinion?
Um, to the individual person, it's true, but on a broader scale, I think it is actually probably preference or opinion because you can't empirically prove it. There's no way of saying, yeah, this goes 100% of the time.
Uh-huh.
But I guess within your own mind, yeah, it can still be true.
Okay.
I don't know if I articulated that as well as I could have.
If it's in your own mind, does that make it more likely to be true objectively?
Um, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
because you are a result of your experiences, and not everybody has had those same experiences that are gonna lead you to develop that same conclusion.
Gotcha. Okay, so what you wrote down Is that like an ice cream thing, or is it like an empirical
That is
fact?
like an ice cream thing. It is absolutely not an empirical fact.
Okay. Is there an empirical fact that you think is true that is supporting your opinion?
I don't think that I could point to one certain empirical fact. I couldn't be like, yes, this may, A makes B true, but I think that there are empirical patterns that point to
Okay.
my conclusion being true.
Maybe I can ask this. Is there a main reason that supports your opinion that is that you would consider something that is empirically true?
I would say yes, not empirically as in, you can demonstrate it scientifically, but when you look at patterns of behavior and the things that people do, generally this outcome does tend to hold.
Okay. Is there a value, like an underlying value that you hold that is informing your opinion?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Is that value something that you consider to be true for everyone?
Um the value that I hold specifically, I don't think is true for everybody, but I think it could be true for everybody, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I'm trying to, it's easier if we explore something that you think is universally true.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that this is universally true. I don't think that all people necessarily act on it, but I think that it is a universal truth.
Okay. Okay. So um, think about the main reason. Are you able to articulate the main reason without giving away what the claim is?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So what's the main reason that supports your your opinion?
Um, you don't actively choose to do harm to others.
Okay.
For most people, they see somebody after them, they're gonna hold the door for somebody. They see somebody random on the street, they're not gonna give them a shitty comment. People aren't actively going out of their way to hate on somebody, so to speak.
Okay. So that's interesting too. Okay. Why is that a good reason? Actually, let me back up. 0 to 100 on a confidence scale. How confident are you that the conclusion you wrote down is true? Objectively,
Objectively,
universally, like you said it was.
80% or so.
Okay.
It's something that I think about. It's not something that I'm like I will fight you to the death on this. I will die on this hill. But it's something that in my life experience, yeah, I do believe to be true.
At a confidence level, 80%.
80%.
Okay. Okay. Why is your reason that we don't actively choose to harm people a good enough reason to support 80% confidence?
Just because as you go through life, I feel like you'll have a lot of different encounters with a lot of different people, and generally that pattern does hold. Obviously, there are some people who are gonna be like, just not great people that you aren't gonna want to interact with. But for the most part, when you interact with people like me coming up to you, this is just a totally random encounter, but neither of us have been, bad to one another. I think
Not
that
yet.
I think that goes. Yeah, I mean, I would hope not, but I think that'll go for the vast majority of students that you will interview here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, everybody's pretty chill so far. Sir, are you saying that your main reason is 80% reliable as a reason to use
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yes.
so that it matches? You're saying the reliability of the reason matches your confidence.
Yes.
Okay. All right. How does your conclusion affect your behavior?
Um, I think it makes me trusting of other people. It makes me want to try to see the silver lining in somebody, even if you don't have an initial good interaction with somebody. I think that everybody has something redeeming about them. It makes me want to get to know people. It makes me want to experience people.
Okay. So like you kind of give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, yeah, I
That's how
would
it
I would
changes your
100%
behavior.
say that. Yes.
Okay. Is there a test that we could perform to find out if this was true?
There are tests that you could, I guess, see if it's true on like a smaller scale, but the bigger principle, like I said, I don't think you can empirically prove that.
Okay.
Do you want me to like explain one of the tests I think maybe you could do?
Yeah, if you're able to do it without revealing the claim, I would love to hear a a reliable, at least an 80% reliable test that would demonstrate this to be a true statement or not.
Um, you have a kid who's lost at a mall, and he comes up to you and he says, "I need help."
Mhm.
I think 80%, or more of people are gonna help the kid.
Okay. So if we took 1,000 kids at like 1,000 Walmarts and we had them just go up to random people, 80% at least of the people asked for help would help them.
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And it's hard to prove that empirically because it's like, it's giving people in a Walmart a lost kid, but I think that yeah, that trend that I predict to happen does point at my larger conclusion being true.
Okay. Let's say we ran the test and 40% uh, helped out. What would that do to your 80% confidence?
One, I would be really disappointed because a big portion of my worldview would change, but it would make my confidence go down. I would still believe in it. I would still believe in my statement, but I would be much less confident, maybe 50%.
Okay. So it'd go from 80 to 50 based on the difference of it being from 80 to 40?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, the 50 is kind of an arbitrary number, but it's just, yeah, I'd be a little shaken. The way I see the world and the way I interact with people, I would be disappointed
Okay.
if only 40% of people were to help the kid.
It sounds like you want this to be true.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it is true,
Hmm.
and
And you want it
I
to be
want
true
it
at the
to be
same time.
true.
How does your desire for it to be true affect your confidence in it being true, do you think?
I think it increases my confidence in it being true. If I came at it with maybe a more objective, like analytical perspective, I think my confidence would likely be lower. But because this principle guides a lot of how I act and how I interact with the world, it helps me to assume that it is true.
Okay. So are you admitting that you are a little bit biased about it?
I think so, yeah. I don't know if I would have said that at the beginning of this, but because of these questions, yeah, I think maybe I am biased. Like,
Okay.
not hugely, but because it does affect my actions, yeah.
Okay. What's something that you could learn to increase your confidence in it being true?
What do you mean by learn in this situation?
I guess what could cause your confidence to go up?
Going back to that hypothetical test, if a vast majority of people did help the kid, or if I were to just be walking on the street and I saw somebody return a lost wallet, or if I see somebody buy food for the person in line after them, these actions of selflessness almost would definitely increase
Do you,
my perception that it's true.
okay, gotcha. Do you ever see the opposite happening?
Yes, yeah, I do. I do. I see people being bad to each other for what I see as no reason.
So does your confidence go up and down like all day
No,
based on what you observe?
no. Like I said, I try to see the good in people. I try to give people a second chance, just because in one scenario they may do something that I perceive as not being good. I don't think that affects my willingness to believe in the conclusion that I have.
Okay. Could somebody use your reasons to arrive at a false conclusion?
What do you mean my reasons? Like the selfless acts?
Yeah, the your observance of people not actively choosing to harm people.
Um, I don't really know how to answer that. I don't know what a false conclusion in this context would be. I mean, if you see people, being good to each other, being selfless, I don't really think you could come to a false conclusion from that.
Hmm. Using that reason, like, it sounds like your reason, generally speaking, is your observation. And so, if we take that reason as a general reason, observation, could somebody use observation to arrive at a conclusion you think is false?
Yes. Yes, I do believe so. Say, like I said, somebody drops their wallet and you see somebody rifle through it and take all the money out of it and throw it back down. Yeah, you could come to the conclusion that, this person is a bad person when, I don't know, maybe they're hungry, maybe rent's due, maybe they got the contact info and intend to pay him back. Who knows? There's a lot of context that goes into each individual action. And yeah, I think that one individual action like that could be used to come to something that, I don't necessarily believe to be true or isn't necessarily universally true.
Okay. Okay. Based on our conversation, are you still at 80?
Yeah, yeah, I would say 80, maybe even increased.
Okay. Cool. Do you have any questions for me?
Um, what do you think like the guiding principle that you try to live your life with is? Like if you have something like that, maybe you're religious, maybe you're not, but do you have kind of a bedrock of who you are?
Um, I like the how it affects other people. That idea. I think that we're on the same page about that. Like, um, decreasing suffering and increasing, um, you know, people's well-being. I think that would be what I would hope is my guiding principle. Um, so yeah, does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, it
Okay.
does.
And
And
I
then
think that you can have that without necessarily being religious and stuff.
yeah, I absolutely agree. This is not like super related to the interview, but what's like the craziest interview that you've ever had? Has somebody just gone like crazy on you, or like did somebody bring you to tears like it was so inspiring?
Um, I, I think I'd have to think about it. I mean, I have like I think close to 200 now,
Wow.
so I'd probably have to thumb through the file cabinet as it were.
Yeah.
Um, the ones that kind of drive me crazy, I would say, since you brought up the word crazy, are like I had a conversation yesterday with one of your uh,
Peers.
fellow students here, who is not convinced that we share the same planet. If we both touch that tree, it's we're not really touching the same tree. That each tree, like we have a tree in our mind,
Yeah.
and that we don't share a world, and that there's nothing that's objective. That everything is subjective,
That's a
and
really interesting take.
yeah, and if I said that it was my truth or my belief that everyone in his ancestry or his heritage that shares his heritage should be wiped off the planet, like who who is he to stop me? Um, so that's why I asked the first question, like what does true mean to you?
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing that's objective and there's nothing that we share, why should I care about anything you have to say?
I mean, you shouldn't necessarily because what's the point of talking about this kind of stuff if there is nothing that is objective. Everything is 100% a construct of like what's in your mind.
Yeah.
I feel like that takes the concept of, you know, it's like if I point at this and say this is blue, you agree that it's blue, but maybe we're seeing something different. I feel like that takes that to a whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, I could be colorblind, but there is a towel here.
Yeah, and yeah, that is like empirically, objectively true.
And if you towel pot me with the towel, that's gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
It's not. So
it's not gonna feel good.
We make affect other people. It's kind of like how we were talking about, like our grounding of how we live. Like I'm convinced that what my beliefs are affect other people. Like how I vote affects other people's rights. Like they are actually existing in an external world that is outside of my mind.
Each action creates ripples throughout the world. It's not just, you know, you're not just dropping a rock in the pond and the rock just goes straight through the surface of the water, you know, that rock being you. It's ripples, there's effects. That's
one of the reasons why I do this, is so that people can have a better grasp on how they arrive at beliefs and whether those reasons that they're using to arrive at those beliefs are sufficient enough to be as confident as they are, because your beliefs affect me either directly or indirectly and the people that I love.
Yeah.
So if we're all walking around with beliefs that we don't really have good reasons to support, I want people to be more aware of that.
I think that's a really good. I think that's a good reason to do what you do. I can say I like to think about this type of stuff, but you know, like why do I believe this? What am I doing? But there's beliefs of mine that I haven't necessarily thought about that maybe I'm going to question as a result of this interview. Maybe you know other people who have come on this can say that as well. I think it's good. I think it's a really good thought exercise.
Thanks for sharing that. And you can use this method to ask people about their beliefs. It might be a belief that you disagree with, and instead of, you know, arguing about it, kind of like what we were talking about while I was setting up, instead of like just arguing about it, you know, being more open about asking them what supports their confidence in this. What would raise it? What would lower it? Is there a test? If there's not a test, how confident should we be in conclusions that we can't test or that we couldn't tell if we were wrong about it?
Yeah. That's the one that really got me with this one, was because it's hard. I don't think it's necessarily an empirical truth, but the fact that I was able to at least come up with kind of some way to prove it did help my confidence, and that's why I said I was actually a little bit more confident than maybe when we started.
It sounds like you have ways to raise it and lower it. It sounds like you're open to being wrong about it, and you know you've got some room to go either way with your 80, or whatever it is now, 85.
Can I reveal my conclusion?
Go for it.
I said humans are inherently good.
Okay. Cool. So you're in the 80s still about that?
Yeah, I'm in the 80s, maybe in the 90s, because, you know, the test in Walmart, I would like to believe that a lot of people would help the kid, but even the ones that didn't, maybe there's circumstances that explain it. Maybe they
have good reasons not to.
Yeah, maybe they had to get back home. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they've had a bad experience with that before. Maybe, like, I don't know, maybe they got set up or something. Who knows? I would like to see the silver lining in that, but I believe that, you know, you look at any one of these people out here, they're just trying to do the best for themselves. They're not trying to hurt anybody else along the way. And for the rare people that maybe do try to hurt others actively, I would really like to hope that that's just as a result of their experiences. You know, something happened to them.
They have a good reason
to make them be that way, and that they're not just out to get people.
Cool, Nick.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, same here.
It's really coming down.
I take a puzzle piece?
Yes. I think there's one more red one, maybe two.
Well, yellow's my favorite color anyway,
Awesome.
so
Thanks
I'll
so much
take the
for
yellow.
taking yellow. It's really coming down. Yeah, and if you scan that QR code, it'll take you right to my channel.
Well, that sounds good. Is it street epistemology?
Street epistemology is the practice that we went through.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people online that do this. Not everyone does it the way that I do it, where I keep your claim hidden. And my channel is called Sound Epistemology because I'm from the Puget Sound.
Okay.
It's that body of water near Seattle.
Yeah, like northern Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Western Washington, northwestern Washington. Yeah, and so that's the reason. So yes, street epistemology. That's the conversation tool that we used, and sound epistemology is my expression of that tool.
Very cool. Well, David, right?
Yep. Nick, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for a great conversation.
That was great.
It's really coming down.